there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're going to be making a ukulele stand. Well, after that 12-part series on building a ukulele, you may be sick and tired of hearing about it. But if you followed along and made your own, you're probably sick and tired of hearing people tell you to get it off the couch or get it off the chair or quit propping it up in the corner. So on today's show, we're going to make a stand for that so that you have somewhere to put it. So the first thing that we're going to do here in order to get this project underway is we're going to make a template, and we're going to make it out of 1/8 inch hardboard measuring 6 inches by 9 inches. And all I'm going to do here is go through the measurements that you're going to need to mark on this board in order to lay out the marks for your template. Truth be told, I googled images of wooden guitar stands and I saw this one and decided to make my own version of it because it really appealed to me. So here we go. And like I said, these are not crucial and you can just follow along step by step. So the first mark that we're going to need to make is from this corner over, put a mark at 1 3/4 inches. Once you get that mark done, come down to the bottom and mark in at 3 7/8 and join those two lines or those two marks together. Just like that. And that is the first mark of our template. The next mark you want to make will be at 2.5 inches from this corner up to the top. Just like that. And you want to take a square, lay it on the first line that you drew, line up the other side of the square with that 2.5 inch mark, and draw a square line right there. Just like that. So we're already pretty much done at this point in time. There's just a few more little lines that need to be placed on here, and we're going to go ahead and do those now. The next measurement that you want to place will be a mark at 2 3/4 inch in, and then another mark 2 inches in from that, just like that. You also want to place a mark from the bottom up. You just turn this over so I can read the right measurements. And that will be at 3/4 inch. So 3/4 inch there, 3/4 inch there. And you want to join those two lines so that you have that mark across your stand. Now from here, there's just a couple more marks to do. From this top corner, right up here, down, you want to come down 2 inches. And then from that mark, you want to come down 3 1/4 inches. And then measure across from here back 1/2 inch, just like we did down here, and another 1/2 inch, just like that, and join those two lines together. Now this is going to be for a recess, so I'll just show you what we're going to do here. At this point now, we're going to get a circle template. Well, with our circle template here, we're going to line up with that 1/2 inch mark that we just drew and that 2 inch mark. We're going to use a 1 inch circle, and we're just going to finish off that corner just to round it off. And we're going to do the same thing on this side, again with the 1 inch circle from that mark here at 3 1/4 inches down over to our 1/2 inch we're going to put this little recess in there. You see that there? And at the bottom, at our 3/4 mark, we're going to line up our circle template for the 1.25" hole, which is this one right here. Going to line it up at the bottom of our line that we marked and come across to that the mark that we put 2 inches over. And again here as well, we're going to join those, and this here will be a recess as well, as will this. This is basically our template. There are a couple lines here that I would like to add, and for that we're going to need something to draw a smooth curved line. And I have this symmetrical drawing bow that I like to use, and I mean, you can use anything. You can use a bucket, you can use whatever your little heart desires here. But I'm going to use my drawing bow because I have one, and from the top corner up here down to the bottom corner, we're just going to draw a little curve just like that. And as well, on the opposite side, we're going to use the same drawing curve, or the drawing bow, line it up from the top of this line that you marked at 2.5 inches up from the bottom. We're just going to line it up. The measurement isn't crucial, however you think it should look, and put another little curve there. Well, this is essentially our template. So we're going to take it over to the scroll saw now, and we're going to cut this template out. And there is our template. Depending on how good you are with the scroll saw, you may want to cut outside the lines and then sand up to your lines that you've marked there, considering that this is a template now and everything beyond here is gauged by the accuracy of this particular piece of hardboard. For me, I just cut it one shot, and like I said, there's nothing really imperative about the measurements on this sort of thing. So now we need to choose what kind of stock we're going to make this out of. So how imperative is the stock for this little guy? Well, I guess it's kind of important. I mean, you don't want to make it out of junk, you know, it is a display piece. But whatever species you want to make it out of will be perfectly fine. The thickness of the stock that we're going to use is 1/2 inch, and I'm not sure if I'm going to go with poplar or maple, oak, walnut, mahogany. I really don't know. I'm going to check up in the rack and see what I've got there, if I have any 1/2 inch stock, and if I do, that's what I'm going to use. But choose your stock and take your template and trace the outline onto a piece of whatever you choose, 1/2 inch thick by 6 by 9. You're going to need 2 of them, so have enough stock to make 2 of these, and go ahead and trace your profiles out. Well, I checked in the wood rack, and I was actually lucky enough to have a bunch of maple that was offcuts from the bench. This stuff doesn't seem to ever be going away, and I've been using it like crazy. I'm ecstatic that I'm able to find uses for it. I hate wasting stock, but either way, lucky me, I guess. We've got our maple, and 1/2 inch thick. I've cut it to 6 by 9. So I'm just gonna trace the profile of my template onto all of my pieces. I'm actually making 2 stands. So go ahead and trace them on to all of your 1/2 inch stock. And there's the first one traced, and I'll just carry on and trace out the rest, and I'll see you when I'm finished that. Well, now that we have our design traced onto our stock, we want to center punch this corner right here, and we're going to drill a 1/2 inch through hole on all of our pieces right at this intersecting point. At this point, you want to take your blank, and from the bottom of your ukulele stand, put a mark at 3 inches up from the bottom. And as well, another one at 1.5 inches to intersect with that 3-inch mark. And once you get that mark in place, I had to adjust everything here. Once you get that mark in place, we want to take that same 1/2 inch Forstner bit, and we want to drill into this 1/4 inch deep. Once we get that 1/4 inch deep hole, we want to follow through with a 3/16 through hole. And the 1/2 inch hole will be on the outside of each one of these pieces. You should now have 2 pieces that look just like this. And it's as simple at this point as taking it over to the scroll saw and cutting these 2 shapes out. Well, if you've been following along up until now, you should have 2 pieces that look exactly like this. And this 1/2 inch through hole that we drilled here is obviously just a design element. You don't have to have that in there if you don't want. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 1/8 roundover bit, and I'm going to take off the sharp edges in here and along this back curve and this underside curve and the front faces of this stand. I want to leave the bottom edges because they will be the flat edges that the stand rests on the ground with. As well, I want to leave these edges as I will be mounting rubber to mine just to protect the instrument. So I'm going to go over and round these over, and then we're going to give the whole thing a good sanding. So we have our 2 pieces, and if you're looking at them, the side with the countersunk or the half-through hole here is the outside. So now comes the assembly. And you basically want to take both of these pieces and line them up so that the top of the stand is aligned and touching each other just like that. And from there, we've got some brass hinges, just small little brass hinges. And what we're going to do is we're going to line them up nice and centered there. We're going to center punch for the holes, drill some pilot holes, and screw those hinges into place. And now that we've got our hinges mounted, or our hinge, we can flip it over and see what we're looking at. And this is basically the stand. There's one last thing to do. And what we're going to need at this point in time is a little bit of thin 1/8 rope. I normally put braided leather straps between these 2 sides, but I don't really have any right now, so a piece of rope is going to have to do, and until I can get some leather to replace it. But you need to get your instrument, decide how far you want these legs to spread apart in order to hold your instrument comfortably, and then place a string between these 2 sunk holes and tie a knot in either end to keep it from spreading all that way. And once you get that string in place, the assembly of the unit is complete. I ended up finding some of this black beading twine that I had here in my shop, and this will do just fine. So you just want to tie a knot in the one end, feed it through, just like I said, and decide your final width of the unit, and tie another knot here, and then trim it to size. Well, here we are, and you're pretty much done. There's not much to do now other than apply the finish of your choice. And for me, as I said, on these flat sections here and the uprights, I will be placing some rubber in order to protect the instrument, but that's completely up to you. You could put some foam gasket on here if you like. You can do flocking on these flat surfaces. Whatever your little heart desires. It's your ukulele stand. So I'm going to be doing some rubber on there, and there's no special trick to that. It's just a matter of cutting the rubber to the size of each of these pads and then gluing it on with some contact or some epoxy. And that's it. This is our stand. Nicely collapsible, and basically take it with you and away you go. And there you have it, a ukulele stand. Guys, it's a fun project, it's a quick one, it's an easy one, and it'll get your ukulele up off the floor or off the chair or wherever it is that you've been stashing it. So feel free to make one for every ukulele that you make. Can you make it larger for a guitar? Indeed you can, and I have. And hopefully in the not so distant future, you guys are going to see a build here on the show on how to make one of those, laying out all the dimensions for that project as well. But that's a future show. Guys, use your imagination with this thing. If you want to do some wood burning on it, you want to laminate different species of woods together, whatever you want to do, it's your project. And hopefully you like what I've come up with here and you can apply it to a project of your own. So guys, thanks for joining me again this week, and I'm going to see you again next week with yet another woodworking video.